Back, my dear brothers and sisters. So in the previous episode, which was the first episode of our journey, we found that the most important and the most basic question that we must solve in our life are, how did we arrive here and what is our purpose of existence? And you also remember that we have summarized these two questions into one, and that is if there exists a creator, which means this single question, if there exists a creator, actually encompasses all the questions that are related to our survival, that are related to our existence, like why we are here, what are we supposed to do, what will happen in future, everything, So from this episode now, let us together solve this question, if there exists a creator. But before we are going to delve into this matter, there is a very important thing we must determine, and that is, using what are we going to find this truth? I mean, using which means or which way are we going to find this truth? What do I mean by that? Well, whenever actually we try to solve some question, especially a big question like this, whether there exists a creator, we rely on something to find the answer. We rely on something to find the truth. People commonly rely on something. Let me straight give you some examples that people commonly rely on so that you understand what do I mean by means. People rely on their feelings to find this answer. So, for example, if their feelings say that there exists a creator, they believe in that. And if their feelings say that no, then they don't believe. So, people, rely on feelings as a means to find this truth if there exists a creator. Another common means that people use is science. Science is obviously, it is universally accepted because of its staggering progress in every sector, We cannot deny this fact. Even a spiritual person, while he falls sick, he knocks the door of science. He doesn't say that I'm going to get cured spiritually, right? So science is something which is universally accepted, my brothers and sisters. So people rely on science to find this truth if there exists a creator. So if, they use science as a means to find this truth. Another means, and that is the most common means that we use, to find this truth, is religion. And this is something we have discussed in the previous episode a little bit, that people blindly follow their religion. Whatever is there in the religion doctrines, whatever the religions say about the existence of creator, purpose of life and everything, they believe in that blindly. Okay, so religion is means for them. Religion is something on which they rely on to find this truth. Another common means that we use is miracle. And what is that? There are some people who are called saints. And now the saints, they have followers, and their followers actually believe that these saints can do some supernatural feats. They can do some magical things, something which is extraordinary. That is why these people have faith in their saints, that these saints must be knowing something about the universe. The secret of the universe. How did the universe originate? How did we come here? What is our purpose of existence and everything, in fact. So my dear brothers and sisters, there are many means using which we actually find this truth if there exists a creator. And there are numerous means. We cannot, if I keep on enumerating all the means, then obviously it is going to be a very long-winded discussion. That is not our purpose. Rather, let me just explain you these four means that I have discussed about. Feelings, science, religion. Well, religion we don't have to discuss because this is something we have already touched upon in the last episode. And the miracles, can we rely on this to find this truth? Because this is sufficient. These many means, sufficient to understand what should be the correct means using which we should find this truth if there exists a creator. So means number one, feelings. Can we rely on our feelings to find this truth if there exists a creator? And the answer is no. Why? Because though many a times our feelings actually, take us to right direction, most of the times our feelings actually take us to wrong direction, And example is very simple, my brothers and sisters. Think of any crime, murder, theft, drug, any crime that you can think of. Do you think that perpetrators of these crimes commit these crimes by being driven by their feelings, or they go against their feelings and do this? Obviously, people, those who commit these heinous crimes, they feel to do so, and that is why they do it. So their feelings actually lead them to do these wrong things, in fact. Okay? You cannot deny this fact. So, for example, a rapist rapes a person because he feels to do that. He feels the urge to do that, in fact. So see, our feelings might take us to wrong direction also. So we cannot rely on our feelings, because if you rely on your feelings to, answer this question, that means it could be correct, it could be incorrect. How you know that? So we cannot rely on our feelings. Moving to the next means, and that is science. Should we rely on science to answer this question if there exists a creator? And you will be astonished to know that we cannot even rely on science to find this truth. Science is a great branch of knowledge that actually helps us unravel all the mysteries in the nature. There is no doubt about that. But when I say science, by science I mean the real science. This begs another question. What do you mean to say? The science which is being practiced is not real? I'm not saying so. The science which is being practiced is also real, but that is only the part of the real science. It is just a small part of that real science. And this part of the science has only been developed for the sake of humans, only for human comfort, nothing else. And that is why you will find that this science that we practice conspicuously ignores the question of a creator. Think about it. So many branches we have in science we cannot imagine. There is a branch dealing with non-living things. There is a branch which is dealing with living things. There is a branch which is dealing with celestial objects and the universe. And even these branches have got sub-branches, and those sub-branches have got sub-sub-branches. So for example, the branch which is actually dealing with non-living things, you will find that that also has many classifications. There is a branch for human, there is a branch for animal, there is a branch for plant. Even the branch for human has also been classified into many branches. Like, there is a branch dealing with brain, there is a branch for eyes, there is a branch for heart. Think about it, so much detailed study we have in science. But my dear brothers and sisters, there is not a single branch that deals with this question if there exists a creator. Let alone having a branch, we don't even have a single chapter that discusses this truth. Whether there exists a creator or not. Think about it. But why? Why is this so? This is not the fault of science. In fact, the scientists and scientific community are not interested about this question. Like ordinary people, most of the ordinary people, they're not interested about this question. They don't think that thinking about this question if there exists a creator is something which is beneficial. Why? Because they think if you believe in a creator, what happens? Your life rather becomes very constrained. This is a misconception. We'll come to that later. You have to follow some principles maybe. You have to be bound yourself with, do's and don'ts. You have to follow some rulings. So people they don't say that. The scientists or the ordinary people, they don't say that. But this is something which is there in their subconscious mind, right? And that is why you will find, rather, ironically, you will find some weird stories in science books. There is an attempt made to just get rid of this concept if there exists a creator. And you must have come across this thing in your education. Whenever you studied nature using science, you must have come across this thing. Suppose while you are studying any component of the nature, then your mind boggles that look at the design, the intricate design and everything there, the internal of the plant body, as if it is exactly perfectly made for a purpose, for a function, so that it can consume carbon dioxide, water vapor, sunlight, and produce its fruits. So for that, exactly the mechanism that is needed is there. So it compels you to think that this perfect design tells me something. It compels you to think that there is a designer. So when you ask that if there is a designer, then our teachers say what? And not only teacher, even science book, and you must have come across this phrase. You must have come across this phrase, I'm sure. That even science book says that this is the work of Mother Nature. Now, who is this Mother Nature, by the way? This Mother Nature is the nature itself. That means the credit of this design is given to the nature itself. But how? Where is the proof? Suppose if there is a child, and if I say that this child has got beautiful eyes, and you say, yes, for this the child himself is actually responsible. My dear brothers and sisters, the credit of the beauty of the child's eyes cannot be given to the child himself. As it cannot be how you can give the credit of the magnificence of a plant, the design of a plant, to the nature itself. And if you say also, where is the proof? And how can science say something without giving a proof? Think about it. So this kind of weird stories we get in science books even, and this is only for the sake of what? So that you get rid of the concept of creator, right? But this is not the attitude of real science. Since this is the most important question, if there exists a creator, and remember I have given you that island analogy, we cannot escape that. And that is why in real science, this question should have the greatest importance. But scientists and scientific community, they are not interested about that. And that does not mean, by the way, don't misunderstand, that I'm not saying that scientists and scientific community, they are not actually, passionate about their subjects. Very passionate and dedicated about their research. If they were not, then, we would not get any invention. And they're not telling us lies. They are very truthful to their research also. If they were not, then all the inventions will have glitches. There is no question. And we are actually benefiting from them. We are thankful to them that, they're discovering things. But my dear brothers and sisters, they are not interested to solve this question if there exists a creator. That is something they conspicuously ignore. That is the thing, in fact. Rather, they are scientists and they're passionately actually, doing their research and everything, and we are benefiting from them. So we cannot rely on science because That real science is not practiced, my brothers and sisters. Okay, moving on to the last means, and that is miracle. There are some people who are called saints, and their followers believe that the saints can do some supernatural feats, some extraordinary things. And these saints actually claim that they have contacts with some supernatural beings, right? And since these saints can do something extraordinary, something inexplicable, that is why their followers believe that these saints must be the people, those who know the secret of this universe. They know how did the universe originate, what is our purpose of existence, and everything, in fact. But my dear brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. More wondrous feats are done by magicians than the saints. And magicians, by magicians I mean people, those who use science to do magic, And this is a good part about these magicians. They say what? They say, see, we trick our audience, we deceive our audience by using science. So these are the trickeries we actually invent by using science. So this is a good part about them. They are not saying that they're spiritually connected with some supernatural beings, right? And believe me, these people can do more wondrous feats than the saints. And you can check on the internet. There are plenty of examples you will get. Some of them made an entire edifice disappear in front of thousands of people. Entire running train, disappear in front of a group of people. Think about it. This kind of trickeries, this kind of magic they can perform, right? Which even you won't hear any saints doing. So we cannot rely on these saints because we are not sure whether they are doing trickeries like magicians or they are really spiritually connected with some supernatural beings. And even if they were connected with some supernatural beings, what is the proof that these supernatural beings are actually God? What is the proof? This could be some other species. This could be ghost. Now, that's a different story altogether, whether ghosts exist or not. We are not going to go into that territory. But as the saints are actually deceiving us by saying that we are connected to God and you follow us, probably these species are also, deceiving the saints by saying that we are God and worship us. So my dear brothers and sisters, we cannot rely on miracle either. So we cannot rely on any of these. Then what is that thing that we are going to rely on to find this truth if there exists a creator? Once again, my brothers and sisters, if you want, you can pause the video, take a while and think about it deeply. Just think about it. Whenever you come across any problem in your life, no matter whether it is a small problem or big problem, any question in your life, what you use to find the truth? What is the thing that you use? What is the thing that you rely on to find the truth? Forget about these subjects. You don't think about science and religion and miracle, these subjects, when you fall into a problem or you try to solve any question in your life. What is the thing that you rely on to find the truth? And my dear brothers and sisters, if you think for a while, then you will find that we rely on our intelligence to find this truth. Any truth, whether small or big, we always rely on our intellect, on our intelligence to find what exactly the truth. So our intelligence is the tools using which we have to find this truth if there exists a creator. But what amount of intelligence, what degree of intelligence is required? Because people say that some people are very intelligent, they are born with high IQ. Some people with low IQ. So what is the amount of intelligence is actually required to find this truth if there exists a creator? And this is very simple to understand, in fact. If there is a creator, then what do you, my brothers and sisters, think that creator should expect from us to have? I mean, what amount of intelligence does he expect from us to have so that we believe in him? What amount of intelligence? If he expects, high degree of intelligence, for believing in him or for finding him, that would mean that means only people, those who are incredibly intelligent, those who are having high IQ, they will be able to believe in the creator. Whereas ordinary people, they won't have any access to the knowledge if a creator exists. Okay? It cannot be the case. If there is a creator, then he must, expect us to have the bare minimum intelligence. The most common intelligence using which we can find the truth, whether he exists or not. And my dear brothers and sisters, what is that bare minimum intelligence or the most common intelligence known as? Think about it. The common intelligence that everyone, you and I have, it is called common sense. So common sense is the tools, common sense is the means, common sense is the way using which we have to find this truth if there exists a creator. Common sense is the ship embarking what we have to go to this journey if there exists a creator. And we have to find out what is the truth. So my dear brothers and sisters, with this, I think, what, I will conclude this video. But before I conclude the video, there is a very important thing that I want to mention, and that is, what do I mean by common sense? Is common sense logic? I mean, are common sense and logic synonymous? They are same? Not exactly. Actually, a great part of logic is common sense. But everything that is commonsensical is not, everything is commonsensical that is logical, but everything is logical that is not commonsensical. Why? Because logic many a times actually, take us to unrealistic situation. Logic many a times take us to unrealistic situation, whereas common sense always take to real situation. Common sense can never take us to unreal situation. Because why? Because common sense is actually reality. We grow our common sense seeing the real world around us. That is how we actually grow our common sense. But logic might take you to unreal situation. Let me give you an example, and this is my favorite example that I give. Suppose a door is half closed. Means what? It is half open. If I say a door is half closed, logically it is half open. Right? Now, if I'm going to put it in a mathematical expression, in a mathematical equation, that it looks like something like this. That half closed equals half open. Now, by the way, what is mathematics? Mathematics is nothing but logic. In fact, if you represent logic symbolically, it is mathematics. Mathematics is actually logic. So, mathematically, it is half closed equals half open. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of simplification of this equation. Excuse me, those who are not fond of mathematics, just, bear with me for 1 minute, 1 minute. Only one step I will do. So, what am I doing is that I'm multiplying both the sides of this equation by 2. And this is something exactly, perfectly valid in mathematics. So I am just multiplying both the sides by 2. So what do I get? I'm left with 1 close equals 1 open. What do you mean by that? 1 close equals 1 open means if a door is full close, it is full open. That means mathematically, logically, if a door is half closed, it is half open. That means, that implies if a door is full closed, it is full open. But that does not make any sense. This is not reality. If a door is full closed, then our common sense says that nothing of the door remains open now. The door is full closed means it is full closed. So, but logic is telling us that if a door is full closed, it should be full open. If you base on that, if it is half closed, it is half open. So my dear brothers and sisters, logic, mathematics, many a times actually, take us to unrealistic situation. And there are plenty of examples in our education. And I am sure that you must have, come across these instances. Think about it. In our education, what used to happen when you used to solve some mathematical problems algebraically. So suppose we have to find someone's age. So we used to say, let us consider the person's age be X. And now we are solving that equation. And if that equation is a quadratic equation, what happens? In the end, you get X equals plus or minus 20. X equals to plus or minus 20. Now our teachers would tell us that, see, minus 20 cannot be someone's age, because age cannot be negative. That is nonsense. So we have to actually discard minus 20 and we have to consider plus 20 to be the age. My dear brothers and sisters, this is what you are saying. In the end of the answer, now you are using reality, your common sense, to see that which of these answers is actually correct. And you discard minus 20. But mathematics does not discard it. In the eyes of mathematics, both the answers are equally valid, plus 20 and minus 20. But you cannot take both of these. So that means what? In mathematics, there are many unrealistic situations even, which we have to use our common sense and we have to discard, in fact. So logic and common sense are not same. But in our discussions, I will be using these two terms synonymously. I will be using these two terms interchangeably. So whenever I say logic, you should understand that it's common sense. So we are not making any difference between these two terms, logic and common sense. So if I say logically, that means I'm talking about common sense. With this, my dear brothers and sisters, I'm going to end this episode here. Thank you very much for watching. And don't forget, in the next video, there are some amazing, beautiful, logical concepts are actually awaiting you, so please continue watching. See you in the next episode. Take care.